I pushed open the glass doors of Whitmore Elite Fitness, my heart pounding. The air inside smelled of expensive colognes, eucalyptus-infused towels, and the subtle tang of sweat. This was my gym. Well, technically my late mother's. My father took over after she passed, but soon it would be mine. And today, I wasn't coming as Elena Whitmore, the heiress to a multi-million-dollar fitness empire. Today, I was just a nobody, dressed in worn-out leggings and a hoodie that swallowed my frame. I kept my head low. Would they treat me with respect, or expose the kind of toxic elitism I had long suspected? I didn't have to wait long to find out. "Excuse me." The receptionist, a woman with sharp cheekbones and an even sharper tongue, barely glanced up from her phone. "Do you need something?" I forced a polite smile. "I'd like to check out the gym." Her lips twisted. "Do you have a membership?" I shook my head. "Not yet, but We don't do walk-ins," she interrupted, smirking. "Try FlexFit across town. That's more your budget." A slow burn of anger settled in my chest. So, this is how they treat people who look like they can't afford luxury. I had barely stepped inside, and already, the humiliation had begun. I ignored the receptionist and walked deeper into the gym, determined to see it all for myself. Big mistake. A woman in tight, designer gym wear, Jessica Whitmore, one of the most insufferable elite members, arched a perfectly sculpted brow as I passed. Ugh. She wrinkled her nose, stepping away dramatically. "Do they let anyone in now?" Her group of friends giggled. "I think she got lost," another sneered. "Or maybe she's just here to steal towels." I exhaled slowly. "Stay calm, Elena." I approached an empty treadmill, but before I could step on, Jessica slid in front of me. "This machine costs more than your entire—" "Look," she said with a smirk. "Why don't you run outside?" Laughter. My fingers curled into fists. If only she knew. If only they all knew. I turned away, deciding to test the staff instead. At the juice bar, I ordered a smoothie. The employee, a blonde woman with an exaggerated fake tan, sighed loudly. "That'll be $19.99. You sure you can afford it?" My stomach twisted. "Yes." She pursed her lips. "We take credit cards only." "No. Cash or payment plans." I stared at her. Did she seriously think I couldn't afford a drink? Before I could answer, Jessica appeared beside me, carrying her own smoothie. With one swift motion, she accidentally spilled it all over me. "Oh," she gasped, covering her mouth. "Oops." The ice-cold liquid seeped into my hoodie, clinging to my skin. The room fell silent. And then, laughter. Jessica's friends clutched their stomachs, barely containing their amusement. Even the staff smirked. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I could walk out. Or, I could end this place as they knew it. I chose the latter. I pulled off my hoodie, revealing the sleek, platinum VIP owner's badge clipped to my tank top underneath. The room went still. Jessica's smug expression crumbled. "What?" she whispered. The receptionist gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. I let the silence drag before I spoke. "I own this place." Dead silence. Then, Jessica stepped back, shaking her head. "No. No way." I smirked and pulled out my phone, tapping the company website. "Owner, Elena Whitmore." I held it up. Jessica's face went white. The receptionist's smugness melted into sheer terror. I leaned forward slightly. "So, do you still think I don't belong here?" No one spoke. For the first time, Jessica had no comeback. I could have fired them all immediately, but that would be too easy. Instead, I made them sweat. I called an emergency staff meeting right then and there, in front of the very people who had laughed at me. "Let's talk," I said, folding my arms. "About how we treat people in this gym." The staff fidgeted. Jessica took a step back, but I grabbed her attention. "You're not leaving," I said coolly. "You want a show? You're getting one." Her lips parted, but no words came out. I had them exactly where I wanted them, and I was just getting started. Silence stretched in the gym's lounge, tension hanging thick in the air. Employees stood stiffly, their once confident smirks wiped clean. Members who had ridiculed me earlier lingered nearby, pretending to stretch or check their phones, but I saw the way their ears strained to catch every word. I took my time scanning the room, letting the weight of the moment settle over them. Then I spoke. This gym was built on my mother's vision, one of respect, strength, and self-improvement, I said, my voice even but laced with authority. But what I witnessed today, Disgusting. I turned to the receptionist, who had mocked me the moment I walked in. Do you remember what you said to me earlier? That I should go to a budget gym instead. She swallowed hard, looking anywhere but at me. And you, I said, turning to the juice bar employee, who took a step back. You questioned whether I could afford a drink. Why? Because I didn't look rich enough. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. And you, I locked eyes with Jessica, whose face had turned an ugly shade of red. You thought you could humiliate someone for looking different. You threw a drink at me in my own gym. Jessica's hands clenched at her sides. I didn't know, she stammered. Oh, I tilted my head. So if I wasn't the owner, your behavior would have been acceptable. She fell silent. The truth was, they weren't sorry because they realized they were wrong. They were sorry because they got caught. I took a slow breath, keeping my emotions in check. No mercy, but no pettiness either. This gym is changing, I declared. Immediately, I turned to my assistant manager, Nathan, one of the few staff members who had never looked down on me. Effective today, I continued, our membership policies are changing. We will introduce scholarship programs for those who can't afford the membership but are dedicated to fitness. We will host free weekly sessions for underprivileged youth. Murmurs rippled through the room. Some employees shifted uncomfortably, but Nathan? He grinned. And anyone caught discriminating against another member, I said, my gaze landing on the receptionist and juice bar worker, will be fired on the spot. Jessica scoffed. You can't be serious. This is a luxury gym, Elena. Not some charity case. I met her glare. You're right about one thing, Jessica. She blinked, surprised. This was a luxury gym. But luxury isn't about exclusion. I took a step closer. Luxury is about excellence. And excellence means treating everyone with respect, regardless of their bank account. Jessica's lip curled, but she said nothing. She knew she had lost. One by one, I addressed each staff member involved. The receptionist? Fired. The juice bar employee? Fired. A few trainers who had laughed at me? Suspended pending an evaluation. And Jessica? I smirked. Jessica, you're officially banned from this gym. She gasped. You can't do that. I raised an eyebrow. I own this place. I can do whatever I want. Her face twisted with fury. Do you know who my father is? He won't be able to buy your way back in. I interrupted. So unless you'd like to be escorted out, I suggest you leave. Now, her eyes burned with hatred, but for the first time in her life, she had no power here. Without another word, she spun on her heel and stormed out. I exhaled. One down. More work to do. The moment Jessica was gone, something shifted. The air felt lighter, as if the very walls of the gym breathed a sigh of relief. Nathan, my assistant manager, approached with an approving nod. You handled that well. I nodded. Now comes the hard part, which is fixing this place. Because revenge wasn't enough. If I truly wanted to honor my mother's legacy, I needed to make this gym better than it had ever been. And that would take real work. The next morning, I arrived early, dressed in my usual workout gear. Not the expensive kind, but something functional. People whispered as I passed. Some were wary, others curious. I approached a young woman who had been working out in the cheapest leggings I'd ever seen, her shoes slightly worn. Hey, I said, offering a small smile. Mind if I train with you? She hesitated. You want to train with me? Why not? I shrugged. For a moment, she looked stunned. Then, she grinned. And just like that, the new era of Whitmore Elite Fitness began. Over the next few weeks, the changes became real. The scholarship programs launched, giving lower-income individuals a chance to train. The staff underwent retraining, ensuring that their attitudes matched the gym's new mission. And as for the toxic elite members, most left, in good riddance. One afternoon, as I was reviewing membership applications, Jessica showed up. I crossed my arms. I thought I made it clear you're not welcome here. She swallowed, looking different. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she said, shifting nervously. I was horrible to you. To others. I studied her. Was this an act? Or is this real growth? I don't expect forgiveness, she admitted. But I like a second chance. I tapped my fingers against the desk. Then, finally, I said, you're going to have to earn it. Her face lit up with hope. I will. And for the first time, I believed her. I leaned back in my chair, studying Jessica as she fidgeted under my gaze. The gym had changed, and so had I. I wasn't the same girl she had humiliated. I was the leader of this place now. Why should I believe you? I asked, keeping my tone even. Jessica swallowed. Because I realized I was wrong. I hurt people for fun. And when you kicked me out, I thought I could just find another gym, but I was the problem, not the place. Her hands gripped the edge of her gym bag. I don't want to be that person anymore. And I don't know how else to prove it except by showing up and trying. I folded my arms. Trying what exactly? She hesitated. Trying to be better. To work. To actually contribute. Her voice shook slightly, and for the first time, I saw something real in her eyes. Fear. Not fear of me, but fear of herself. Fear of being stuck as the same shallow person forever. I sighed. Fine. Her head snapped up. Wait, you mean it? I narrow my eyes. Don't get too excited. You're not getting a free pass. If you're serious, you'll have to start at the bottom. She nodded quickly. I will. I swear. Then welcome to Whitmore Elite Fitness, I said, my voice firm. As our newest janitor. Jessica froze. I arched an eyebrow. Something wrong. She swallowed hard. No, I thought maybe I'd get a desk job. I smirked. Too bad. Her face burned red. I'll do it. I smiled slightly. Let's see if she means it. Jessica in a janitor's uniform was a sight I never thought I'd see. The same girl who once paraded around in designer activewear now wore a basic company-issued shirt and clean sweat-off equipment. And the best part? The same people she once mocked were now her co-workers. And they weren't quick to forget her past. Hey, Jess. One of the trainers, Luis, called out with a smirk. You missed a spot on the floor. Jessica clenched her jaw, gripping the mop tighter. I see it. Luis leaned against the treadmill, arms crossed. You sure? Might want to bend down. You always like looking down on people. Maybe you can see it better from there. A few employees chuckled. I watched from my office window. This was part of her lesson. She could quit now and prove she was still the same shallow, entitled brat. Or she could keep going. And to my surprise, she did. She gritted her teeth and scrubbed the floor. Jessica's presence wasn't the only change happening. The old gym elite, the ones who had treated lower-income members like trash, were furious. This gym used to be exclusive. One man, Chase Reynolds, raged in my office. He was one of our highest-paying members. Now it's turning into a what? A community center? I kept my face neutral. You're welcome to leave, Chase. He blinked. What? If you don't like the new culture here, I said smoothly, then Whitmore Elite isn't for you anymore. His face twisted in disbelief. You're kicking me out? He scoffed. Me? After all the money I've spent here. You spent money, I agreed, but you didn't add value. And I'd rather have 10 dedicated members than one guy who thinks he's better than everyone else. Chase stormed out, and just like that, the old order of entitlement began to crumble. With the toxic members gone, something incredible started happening. People who once felt out of place now thrived. A single mom named Marissa, who had saved up for months just to afford a gym membership, now had a free personal training session every week thanks to our new scholarship program. A teenage boy named Daniel, once too scared to lift weights because of judgmental stares, was now training with Luis, gaining confidence he never had before. And as I watched it all unfold, I felt it. My mother's legacy was finally being honored. Jessica lasted 3 weeks as a janitor before she snapped. Elena, she stormed into my office, slamming her mop down. This is humiliating. I sipped my coffee. You're free to quit. She glared at me. That's all you have to say. I leaned back in my chair. I didn't force you to come back here, Jessica. You wanted a second chance. She huffed, crossing her arms. I did. But this isn't a chance, it's punishment. I shrugged. Maybe you deserve it. Her mouth clamped shut. A long silence stretched between us. Then, her shoulders slumped. I do, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. I studied her. So what now? She took a deep breath. I'll finish my shift. I nodded. Good. For the first time, I saw the real Jessica. Not the spoiled brat. Not the queen bee. Just a girl who had never been held accountable before. By the second month, Jessica wasn't just mopping floors. She started helping, giving tips to new members, helping spot for people at the bench press. And one day, I saw her encouraging a girl, a shy, quiet member, who was struggling with her form. "Hey," Jessica said softly. "Try shifting your weight forward a little. It helps with balance." The girl nodded, adjusting her stance. And when she finally nailed the movement, Jessica clapped for her. For the first time, she wasn't laughing at someone. She was cheering them on. Jessica earned her way back, not as a queen bee, but as a trainer in training. She worked under Nathan, learning from scratch. And the best part? She actually cared. "Never thought I'd say this," Nathan told me one day, watching Jessica correct a newbie's form. "But she's got potential." I smiled. "Yeah, she does. Because redemption isn't given. It's earned. And Jessica, she earned it." Months later, my father walked into the gym. For the first time, he wasn't here to lecture me. He looked around, watching the new members, the community I had built. Then, he turned to me. "You did it," he said, his voice quieter than usual. I swallowed hard. "Yeah, I did." And then, for the first time in years, he smiled at me. Pride, respect. And just like that, I knew my mother would have been proud too.